Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session that was designed to enable a client to evaluate a significant life change. And this particular client was addicted to a substance. That substance was cocaine. And they had had a period of time where they hadn't used the substance and then relapsed and then started using again. And it was leading to a potential serious consequence in their life. And there was a part of them that really understood that and knew the consequences of this particular behavior. And yet there was this other part that really had a desire to keep using. And that conflict is not uncommon in those people that have an addiction to a narcotic, a substance that creates immediate biochemical changes in the body, which hugely influences emotional states. And the elephant in the room, which a lot of therapists don't like to talk about, is that any substance addiction has a payoff. It has a benefit to the user. And unless you can meet that need in a different way, then even if they stop that behavior, they're likely to find something else. And there's no guarantee that the alternative is going to be better than the current behavior. So what I did in this particular session, because the client wasn't ready to make the decision to quit at that particular point in time, it was really important to lay the foundations. So there is a metaphor here of a crossroads, of a path branching into two. And in many times, you will hear this metaphor being used to create the idea of a decision or a dilemma. The path splits into two, and then you have a choice. You can either carry on or you can take the different path. And what I like about that metaphor is that it's intuitively obvious that you can't do both. You can't split yourself into two and walk down two different paths at exactly the same time. So this idea of a decision, it's one or the other, is really useful if you're at that stage where you're considering a big life choice. In this case, the road that carries on is what happens if things doesn't change. And the path that splits off represents a choice to make a change. Accepting that in that alternate trajectory in life, the substance being desired won't be there. Now, obviously, this has been customized to the particular individual that I was working with, and therefore some of the language, some of the key words, some of the key motives and consequences are unique to this individual. So if you're listening to this and you are addicted to a substance or you're addicted to an experience, it could be gambling or mobile phone or social media addiction, something like that, it still will require at some level a choice linked to emotion. And there will be a link nearby to this recording where you can book a free 30-minute consultation call with me to explore what it would be like to work with me directly. But if you are either currently addicted to cocaine or a substance, or if you're willing to listen to this recording with an open mind, able to ignore the bits that aren't relevant and focus on the bits that are, or replace it with the equivalent experience in your life, then I think you could still get value from this session. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. take a deep breath in, and on the outward breath, allow your eyelids to close. As you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation, and as you exhale, allow feelings of tension to leave your body. So as you breathe in and breathe out, notice that on the outward breath, tension is leaving your body, enabling you to feel deeper relaxed. Breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation and giving permission for tension, stress, anxiety to leave your body. Notice that as you breathe in and breathe out, you allow the outward breath to elongate, allowing more and more tension to leave your body. And then as you breathe in, notice that although it starts off in the chest, you allow the diaphragm to open up, allowing deeper and deeper breaths. Use the power of your imagination to imagine a vibrant, bright color that represents resourceful relaxation. Imagine it going in through your nose and filling your lungs, but also notice that on the outward breath, it seems like a darker color is leaving your body, representing that tension, that stress, that anxiety that is dissipating, melting away, and just being exhaled in the outward breath. So just by breathing in and breathing out, tension is leaving your body and resourceful relaxation is going in, meaning that you're going deeper and deeper, relaxed now. As your body relaxes, your mind becomes more alert, activating the interface between your conscious and your unconscious mind, which is, of course, your imagination. And I want you to use the power of that imagination to make a picture in your mind's eye of a Greek island, perhaps with a mountain. And I want you to imagine a building that overlooks the sea, that's completed, that's finished. That's it. And you can slow down your breathing. That's it. Breathing naturally, feeling relaxed. I want you to imagine that you are in the building overlooking the sea. And when you're there and you can see the sea and perhaps feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. I want you to imagine you're all alone, feeling confident. In fact, feeling ultra confident in this building overlooking the sea. It's a sunny day. You're feeling relaxed, but you have a sense of focus that you know what needs to be done and how to do it. I want you to feel deeply connected with yourself, that you know who you are and you know what's really important to you. And I want you to get a sense that as I'm talking, there's nothing that you need to do. Whatever happens, happens, and there's the ability for you to just escape reality and to allow the inevitable process of my words interacting with your mind to enable new thoughts, new beliefs, and new choices to be made. And if your unconscious mind is happy to allow me to take the reins, to take your imagination on a journey to facilitate useful, powerful change, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. I want you to imagine that there is a comfortable bed in this building on the side of this mountain overlooking the sea, and I want you to imagine that you're placing your head on the pillow. I will count down from 5 to 1, and you will imagine falling asleep on that bed and drifting off into a dream. When your head's on the pillow, and your body's on the bed, feeling the weight of your arms and legs there on the mattress, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. Starting to count 5, eyelids getting heavier and heavier and heavier. That's it. Feeling drowsy. 4, any tension in your neck and shoulder just melting away. Arms and legs getting heavier and heavier. 3, as you breathe in, your internal organs start to relax. Heart relaxes, lungs relax, stomach and diaphragm relax. That's it. 2, and then all the way down, relaxation spreading to every cell of your body. 1 and then 0. And imagine drifting off into a sleep there on that bed, in that house, on the side of that mountain, overlooking the sea, as you drift off into a dream. And in that dream, I want you to imagine you're on a path in a forest. The path represents the current trajectory in life. Imagine walking down that, smelling the smell of the leaves, perhaps the pine trees. Occasionally a beam of light just breaks through the canopy in the roof of the forest. And as you carry on, I want you to imagine there is a fork in the road. There is the pathway that continues on, and there is a pathway that takes you in a different direction. And I want you to stop just before the path forks into 2. If you do nothing different, you will continue on the path that you're on. And I want you to imagine what that path represents for you. I want you to imagine what will happen in the next few days or weeks if nothing changes. In fact, I want you to imagine that someone else makes a decision based on your reluctance to change. And imagine that their decision has a ripple effect, a series of consequences that affect you and your life and perhaps even where you live. I want you to get a sense that that could mean the future takes your life in a different direction. Perhaps a direction where people that you love the most, you get to see less and less. That your ability to be there for key moments changes. That your role in relationship to your children takes a different trajectory. That perhaps further down the pathway, perhaps even the role that you thought was exclusive to you, then gets partly filled by someone else. I want you to get a sense that further down that pathway, maybe there's a part of you that says, well, I've lost so much, so fuck it, what's the point? And that takes you down, even further down a route, where consequences compound on consequences, and they compound on more consequences to take your life perhaps in a direction that you have no idea how low you could go. Imagine going all the way back to the fork in that pathway before it splits into 2, and then imagine a different pathway where you find a different vehicle to access feelings of being in control and confident. You make a decision to raise your standards as to what you would never do. There's so many things that you would never do, and at the moment that you psychologically accept that you would never do them, you don't have to think about them. I want you to get a sense that there is so many things that you've just never done because you would never entertain the idea. And maybe some of these are moral things, some are physical things, some are just bizarre things that haven't entertained a thought in your mind. So therefore, it doesn't require willpower to do certain things, because you wouldn't dream of doing them anyway. Imagine this second fork in the pathway represents just one of a billion things that you would no longer ever do. And instead you find a different way to access feelings of confidence. Other things that you would do that would get you in that focused, mindful state of mind. Things that you could do that naturally would have a consequence of boosting your libido, making you feel more connected with yourself. And maybe this other pathway has different ways in which you can find a way of escaping reality, perhaps art, perhaps a hobby, but perhaps just reading books and watching movies. But notice that in that pathway, the things you love the most are still there. The things you value the most are still there. You miss out on certain feelings of instant gratification, but the things you value the most are still there. And I want you to get a sense that you haven't chosen which path to walk down yet. You're just there at the crossroads. You could choose to continue to carry on, or you could choose to take a different path. There is no inevitability here. If you don't choose to take the second path, then by definition, you are choosing to take the original path. Either way, you're making a choice. And therefore, you're really choosing what you value most. If you had to choose between temporary feelings of confidence and focus, or a future with the people that you love the most, what would you choose? If you had to choose between escapism in a biochemical way, or escapism in a way that you can revisit whenever you want, just at the click of a button or opening a chapter in a book, what would you really choose? If you had to choose between the focus that comes from choosing something important and a temporary feeling of focus, what would you really choose? More importantly, there is a part of you that has the attitude of, fuck it, just do what you want. And I want that part to connect with the consequences of that choice. Prisons are filled with the long-term consequences of short-term decisions. And as you stand there, where the path forks into two, accept the suggestion that in the next few days, you will need to make a choice. Do you carry on and see where the chips will fall? Or do you take control? Do you become a slave to a habit? Or do you choose freedom? I want you to get a sense that this is not the time to make the choice, but the time to evaluate the choices. In life, every choice has a consequence. And I want you to think back to some of the best choices you ever made. And if you went back in time and didn't make those choices, isn't your life going to be in a different place than it is right now? You already have evidence in your life that great choices lead to a better future. But you also probably have made some bad choices in your life. And I want you to think also that bad choices, with the benefit of hindsight, took your life in a less desirable direction. And allow those thoughts to ruminate over the next few days as you decide which path you will take. And you can't not make a choice. You're either taking one path or the other path. Staying on the path is not an option. And if you're ready to evaluate over the next few days which path you will take, let me know by nodding your head. And then realize this is just a dream and find yourself back in that bed, in that building, on the side of a mountain overlooking the sea. But you look out over the sea, feeling that choices create futures, that decisions create destiny, and that right now you can influence that destiny. But in the future, you might not be in control of that destiny. And then you realize that even that is just a dream within a dream, and now you're back in the present. All parts of you here in the moment, listening to my voice as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. As I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will awaken feeling that a choice needs to be made, and you will evaluate all of the pros and cons of making that choice. It will be an informed decision, and whatever you choose, you accept that there will be a price to that choice. But there's a price to either choice. It's just which choice you're willing to make. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.